Buonasera a tutti.
Good evening, everyone. We're here this evening for a meeting which has been held several occasions during the meeting by the Parliamentary Intergroup for Subsidiarity. The Intergroup has existed for about 11 years, and I take this opportunity to thank those who have brought the group forward, Maurizio Lupi and Enrico Letta, who brought the group forward for the first 10 years, and without them, the Intergroup would not exist. As they were called to form a government a year ago and had different roles, Guglielmo and I, have decided to form the group, head the group from now on, so that we can continue the work. It's an important task which sometimes slips beneath the surface, but in fact is bearing important fruits in Parliament and outside. The Intergroup was set up when there was a strong opposition between the parties in Parliament. The fact that there were also opportunities for dialogue and the demonization of adversaries, insults, and so forth, but instead creating a dialogue to have an opportunity to discuss the common good. After the last elections, as you know, this year has been a special year, but the opportunity for dialogue is still necessary, and it is as necessary as it was then. We represent different parties, and more than 300 senators and members of Parliament have adhered to this intergroup, including the Five-Star Movement, and this in itself is particularly important. Today's meeting, Maurizio has arrived. Today's meeting is designed to tell you about what we have started doing and what we plan to continue. It's an initiative that the Intergroup hadn't taken up to now, and this is a trip around Italy, looking at Italy that has reacted to the economic crisis, implementing energy and what technical people called resilience, the ability to react against a system in times of adversary circumstances. So we decided to set off on this trip around Italy, taking for each Italian region a symbolic sector or a symbolic experience without claiming to cover the entire area, using a method that is used in Parliament, using auditions by calling various associations, various industrial districts, various businesses, and asking their opinion on the provisions and legislative regulations that are passed by Parliament. This time, we've upturned the system, and like this meeting that has gone towards the outskirts and the periphery, we are moving towards the real economy, which does not live within Parliament, but lives on the fringe outside Parliament. So travelling around Italy to look at what's moving, to see what's going on, because growth will come about if we are able, from the standpoint of subsidiarity, to see what is moving in the local area, what is being constructed in the Italian regions. Looking around the stands at the meeting, the Federlegno stand from the wood industry, we see lots of energy concentrated on starting Italy up again. Unfortunately, politics, often when it talks about the economy, it talks about the state budget, whereas the state is a consequence. The true situation of the economy is the real economy, which is made up of people working. So, to use two words, the words we've heard during the meeting, the words the Pope used, telling us to reflect, so starting from what there is, the real economy, not from algorithms. The second words of the Pope were, pay attention to what is essential, the aim of things, the aim of politics. The aim of politics is the common good. And the common good is the good of communities and individuals. Because politics can only be undertaken with goodwill towards the individuals living in our communities, people that work, people who run businesses, people who run non-profit organizations, people working in every sphere. And this is the sense of our trip around Italy, to listen and to go and see what is going on in Italy and ask suggestions for our policies. We asked everyone we met to express a problem, an issue to solve, not a general question. Don't tell us that we need simplification. Tell us something concrete, something tangible that we can resolve, with the idea that at the end of the journey, as a parliamentary group, we can put together a bill for boosting competition by pooling all the suggestions that have come from the different regions of Italy. Before I ask my friends from the Intergroup to take the floor, I've asked Alfonso Ruffo, who is head of the
in Campania,
that when we started off on this journey in the Campania region, he produces a supplement to his daily newspaper in the Sole 24 Ore newspaper. So we wanted to ask him how this journey was viewed in Italy. Thank you, Guglielmo. Thank you for giving this opportunity. As you said, the economy is composed of people, and these trips around Italy are very important because it puts the group in touch with an important portion of the economy in the Campania region, where there are many problems. It's important for businesses in Campania. They never had any contact with Parliament or representatives from Parliament, like the Parliamentary Intergroup, and this was a surprise for them, and an interesting surprise, and it was welcomed. For the first time, a group of members of Parliament from different political areas took a direct interest in the real economy. This was a very busy 2 days, meeting port workers, people working in the Interport, Naples group of representatives from the Confindustria, the employers' representatives, a meeting in the Aerospatial Center, Aerospace Research Center. Then there was a meeting with a group of representatives from the agro-food industry, because the Campania region is a leader in tomato processing. So that particular is a key area for Campania region. There was a very high rate of participation in this region. I think you met around 70 or 80 businessmen in that area, and it's not easy to meet that many representatives of businesses who often avoid these meetings because they have their own everyday problems to tackle. So in this case, we had a very high rate of participation, and I think that their suggestions and what they had to say was also very interesting. We avoided long, weighty talks, but went straight to the heart of the matter to discuss the true issues and to pool the problems that needed to be tackled. I think this was extremely positive, and I think that going all over Italy to extract the key problems to be faced is a particularly interesting initiative. In Italy, as in the Campania region, where problems in and around Naples are particularly difficult. I think this initiative should continue, and I hope that all the parliamentarians in the Intergroup plan to continue with the same commitment and attention that they had in Campania region. Thank you very much. Thank you, Alfonso. He is one of the newspaper editors who have always published positive aspects of the south of Italy. Others often publish only the things that go wrong, whereas he is happy to look at what's going on and also to offer us a subsidiarity through his newspaper. Now we want to go around the table. Let's start with Francesco Sanna from the Democratic Party. He comes from Sardinia. Francesco, thank you. I think traditionally we reply to questions by going around the different industrial districts, but first of all, it was our interest in districts, and we came up against a denial of the truism that certain economic theories had been overcome with respect to the globalization of the economy, falling into line with the new reality, like old people dressing up in young people's clothes to stand out from the others. These industrial areas explained to us that the old theories had been overcome because with globalization of the economy, the hyper-specialization of the economy, of a small local area where everyone was specialized in doing the same thing to the point of excellence, was in fact not quite the same as the global economy, the idea that manufacturing can only be done in certain parts of the world, and in those certain parts of the world did not include Italy, because they require low salaries, because we don't want problems with the environment, with respect to work organization, worker protection rules should be avoided, and so on. These typical features of production, cost of logistics, the cost of transport, infrastructure for energy supplies. So we were completely on the wrong tack. In Italy, in the economic crisis, if there is an economy that is still supporting Italian manufacturing, this is not the economy of large business concerns, businesses competing all over the world with brand names holding the Italian market. So it's not an Italian consumer trend, but this is the economy that it's mainly concerned with exports. So the Italian economy is saved by the fact that exports continue during the recession. The world is still the market for this economy, despite the euro being too strong for export purposes. For this part of the market that is still highly specialized. So these industrial manufacturing districts have resisted and have challenged the problem. And as the Parliamentary Intergroup for Subsidiarity, we are very attentive to theories, and we'd like to go directly to see what is happening in the real economy, to find out the public policies that are required, because if these industries have overcome the challenge of globalization, they have therefore defeated the theory of a global market and a global economy. But that means that you are able to be successful despite being ignored by politics. This is something that no longer exists. When we organized our trip round Italy, we found that the question that Vignali said was, tell us what you need. You might tell us give us a whole list of things, but we just want to know the most important things. The last thing is that in the government policies that are collected and promoted by Parliament, there is the fact that the Italian economy will take off if we invest not only in incentives in the Italian system, in a reform of justice or transport or democratic regulations, but if we manage to boost the real economy based on investments into Italian businesses. Those foreign businesses, Italian businesses invest abroad 5 times more than foreign businesses invest in Italy. So the final question that emerges is how to blend investment of major foreign assets of those who have cash for investment at the moment, and those who in the Italian manufacturing industry are investing abroad in the major industrial districts. These districts are far too important to rule out investments of foreign capital. For example, in Sardinia, a region I know, all production of non-ferrous metals in Italy is concentrated, and all these assets are in the hands of foreign investors. There is a non-ferrous metal district, but this involves major foreign capital investment. One is in America, another is in Switzerland, and another is in Russia. So this type of economy, how it reacts and how it survives with the desire to promote foreign investment, demands an answer and legislative and administrative solutions that we will suggest to the government to be able to continue on this route of creating synergies and economies that go along hand in hand. Thank you.
Grazie, Francesco.
Thank you very much, Francesco. Now the floor to Federica Chiavaroli, a member of the Italian Senate. Thank you very much, Raffaello. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to say something about the Intergroup. I indeed looked at the Intergroup with great interest when I was not a member of the Parliament. I have always followed the proceedings of the Intergroup. I have always admired the spirit of people who have a different background, but still were able to join forces because they had a number of subjects they were interested in. Last year, we spoke about the coming back of brains. Working within the Intergroup is very important for me. Italy is passing through a difficult time. As a member of parliament of a right-wing party, the PDL, we decided that it was important to join forces to support the interests of the country. That was a very useful experience. I knew that there were people who could work together for minor problems, such as the issue of the 5 per mil. I was sure that people could also work together to solve great problems, big problems for the country. So I'm very grateful to the group for involving me. I also would like to thank Raffaello Vignali and my dear friend Vaccaro. I am part of the people at a disadvantage. In Italy, disabled persons are considered as a disadvantage, and the same for women. He fell and he was injured, so we both belong to the group of people at a disadvantage. Working for Italy, which is on the move along the path of recovery, well, I'm part of a group of people who has decided to react and to go on, and they made it. They got a new start. I did not attend the visits in the Campania region. I am a member of the Senate, and we were involved in approving the reform of the Senate. However, I was briefed about what happened. Companies asked us to do something for them. This is a demand which comes also from those companies which managed to go on. They ask us to eliminate those burdens which the country can no longer afford. The problem of our companies and of our citizens are not only due to the economic crisis. There are burdens which prevent our country from getting started again. One of the main burdens highlighted during the visit in Naples is that of red tape or bureaucracy. We could see what means dredging the bottom of the harbor of Naples, what all the bureaucratic problems that implies. So bureaucracy is a burden not only for companies but also for common citizens. I am coordinating the new center-right party in my region, and for the first time I was involved in submitting the voting lists. Do you think that it's normal to issue the lists to the municipality and being requested to give the municipality certificates which are issued by the municipality themselves. So we are asked to present the municipality with documents which the municipality itself is issuing. This is an unbearable burden which we have to eliminate. Another unbearable burden is to be seen in the daily discussions we have. i.e. The public expenditure which is not productive. And I not only refer to the costs of politicians and the public administration. We contributed in reducing the costs of regional administrations. We also reformed the Senate, but these costs make up only for a very, very tiny part of the public expenditure. The highest costs are to be found elsewhere. During the visit we made, I realized that when spending holidays in my region, i.e. the Abruzzo region, up in the mountains, there are 3 different municipalities which indeed are at a walking distance one from the others. I talked with the 3 mayors. They are not able to combine their administrations. They have their separate collection systems, they have the lighting systems, but they do not join forces. We have about 9,000 municipalities in Italy. This is not a wealth for the country. It's a big obstacle. Companies have realized that they have to join forces to become a system. I mean, the idea that if something is going wrong for me, the same should happen to the others. We should adopt a different approach. We should have a win-win approach, and we would like to be winners together. This is one of the demands on part of the industrial sector in Italy. This has been confirmed during the visits that we are paying to the different regions, and that should not be underestimated. I was very much impressed when noting that entrepreneurs, when things are going wrong, well, usually entrepreneurs, when something goes wrong, try to analyze what's going wrong in their companies. They try to understand where they made mistakes, they make changes and improvements. That should be an example for us. In the Senate, I am a member of the State Budget Committee. The committee hold hearings for the spending review. All groups during the hearings complain that the country is not working, the money is squandered, the expenditure is under control, with the exception of what concerns their group, because all groups refuse to make sacrifices, to change their ideas and to do something different. We should go beyond that. I was very much impressed by something I read at the entrance of a Peggy exhibition. He states, since I was a boy, I followed a very simple idea, starting a revolution to change the world by starting from ourselves. So we should start from ourselves to change our mentality, to change our frame of mind. Let's join forces. Let's work together. Let's start considering the others not as enemies. So let's pursue our political objectives maybe along different ways. We had fierce battles against our political enemies or the marriage of gays or the labor legislation and so on. I'd like to fight, but not against, but in favor of something, as the entrepreneurs are asking us. Let's do something positive, something in favor of enterprises and entrepreneurs. We do believe that entrepreneurs are a great resource. We know that entrepreneurs want to hire people, they want to enhance the good workers. So starting by this very positive stance, we should implement the rules of the labour market. The same goes for all the issues which concern families and so on. The growth of our country indeed comes from investment in infrastructures, but that also depends on the number of children who are born in Italy. It depends from the number of the women whom will support in keeping their jobs while at the same time having babies. This is the things I want to fight for. Entrepreneurs have given a great lesson to us. Successful entrepreneurs and the more than 3,000 volunteers who are here at the meeting, going on holidays, because when coming here, they feel the protagonist of something which is great. I saw the backpacks of some school students stating either protagonist or nobody. In our country, we have the energies, the desire to put our hands at work and become protagonists and not to end up in being nobody. Our task in Italy, which is getting restarted, is that of adopting measures so that in Italy new energies are freed and we could become protagonists again.
Grazie Federica. Gianluigi.
Thank you, Federica. Luigi, Gigli. Thank you, Raffaello. I'd like to start from an experience of mine this morning, and I'd like to thank Raffaello for letting me tell you this. I was visiting the Federlegno stand, the Woodwork Association stand here at the meeting, and I advise you to visit. The wood processing sector and wood manufacturing furniture in the Friuli region sees some of the national and world leaders in wood manufacture and woodworking. These industries are an example of what we're talking about, because these are businesses that have not relocated, they have not shifted their headquarters into Slovenia for their own gain. They have resisted the economic crisis by investing in research and development, and show us that the Italian genius emerges in the transfer of knowledge and training, manual skills and craftsmanship, but also around state-of-the-art technology, and is able to launch highly creative design products which can resist even on a global market. This sector simply asks for one thing, and this is basically, even before asking for help, it asks not to be hindered. So, in part, I will echo the comments that have already been made, but I wanted to start from some of the comments made by Senator Chiavaroli, because in my opinion, Italy needs other things to be able to start up again. De Gasperi said that the statesman is not someone who looks at the next election, but the person who looks at the next generation. Traditionally, we considered the span of a generation to be 25 years. So I would like to draw your attention to the scenario that the Statistical Institute has indicated for 25 years from now. The number of Italian citizens is dropping. In 2014, we have had a negative drop in 100,000 people, exceeded only by the birth rate of immigrants, but that too is dropping and has equaled out in this year. The counter trend continues to see an increase in the population for the next 25 years, and in 2039 we will be dropping from 69 million today to 62 million then. But from 2039, the population will also be dropping in absolute numbers, and then 1/6 of the population will be composed of immigrants. The average number of families will have dropped to 2.4 members, and for more than half of them, the composition of families will be made up of 1 or 2 people. And the procreation trends of immigrants after a certain amount of time tend to fall into line with that of the indigenous population. At the start of the 21st century, we experience a historic overtaking in the number of citizens over 60 with respect to the citizens under 20. In the next few years, this will worsen. The increase in the number of over 80s in 2039 will be the same number as young people under 20. In 2039, we expect 500,000 people over the age of 90. You can see that the consequences of this for the sustainability of the pension system are dramatic, also because immigrants will themselves have aged and will have accumulated in their working lives in Italy a period of smaller pension contributions. But as a doctor, I also look at the sustainability of the health system. If you think that old people are the major consumers of the healthcare system, and adding to that chronic diseases in addition to old age, we see a major consumption of resources. In terms of new generations, in the last few years, we have lost 100,000 young people, in particular, young people aged between 20 and 29 years. And here, we have lost not the old migrants with the cardboard suitcases done up with string. No, this time, we have lost 16% of these young people are graduates. When we offer a research doctorate in our universities, 7% of these young people on completion will have gone abroad. This is a total waste of training investment. But it also means a loss to the country from the standpoint of research and development, from the point of innovation and the ability to compete in a global market. So either we intervene to counteract these demographic trends, or Italy will have great difficulties. We've been talking about family quotients and family factors for years. Again, this year, I'm afraid to say that we have seen the bonus of €80 has been distributed in a way that did not take into account the state of families and, in fact, penalized families. We need to implement straight away interventions on the compatibility of work and family, supporting working women with policies to support the family, services for individuals, vouchers for the disabled, for the handicapped, and for the elderly who themselves can contribute to economic growth and the growth of employment. I include simply saying that Italy is a country that has aged. It has aged radically and is on a trend to age even further. The fertility rate of women in Italy is 1.4 child per woman against 2%, 2 children in France. And were it not for immigrants, the 1.4 would drop to 1.2 children per woman. Unless birth rates rise, they will not rise unless we boost policies in support of families, and the problem of the aging population will not be corrected unless the birth rate increases. The disadvantaged in Italy are women and the handicapped. This is quite true, but the major disadvantaged category in this country is the family. The family starts the economy again because it forces investments to some extent. Investing in the family from the point of view of national policy is a priority, and I would say it's the #1 priority for Italy to take off again. And either the country understands that it needs to look at long-term policies, or it is destined, despite our efforts, to implode and to die. We want to spend and dedicate our efforts to opposing this trend. Thank you.
Grazie Gianluigi.
Thank you very much, Gianluigi. We often say that politicians make very good statements and then do bad things, but you have 5 children and you also have 4, so indeed that means that you are very consistent with what you preach. The floor to Latronico, the only one with a jacket and a tie from the Forza Italia party. They are really very formal. Well, thank you very much, my dear friend Vignali and my dear friend Vaccaro, for convening this event. I'm happy that we can continue the dialogue that has been started some time ago. The Intergroup on subsidiarity is a very good example of a right method. That means that going beyond the differences between the government and the opposition, and rightly so, I mean, it's extremely important for democracy to have fierce opposition. Indeed, we have maybe political differences, but I think that they can become a form of wealth because of the very purpose of politics, that is serving the community to enhance its resources. The Intergroup for subsidiarity has always been stating real truths, i.e. the country might collapse and might recover, provided it uses the resources that are available. So the government should not put obstacles in the correct allocation of the resources that are available. Sometimes when we are at the government, we tend to commit the original sin. If you are powerful, you tend to use your power to preserve yourself. On the contrary, we have to do something different. We should make an effort to identify the lively communities and enterprises in the country who are able to spur the others. We all are aware that beyond the dynamics of politics, our citizens are suffering. If we want to turn difficulties into opportunities, we as a group can say that there are some strong points in the country. Indeed, we have very creative people everywhere. The meeting is a clear example of people who join and want to send a clear signal outside. That is, we are a community which is here to build and to look with a positive glance at the future. The group has visited different Italian regions. In this ideal journey we made, I identified very good potentials in my region, but not only for my region, also for the country. We have the largest mine in Italy, the largest mine in Italy, where 80% of oil is drilled, 80% of the oil drilled in mainland Italy. And that oil is useful not only for my region, i.e. Basilicata, but also for the whole country. We need to become more independent in terms of oil supplies. Indeed, we have these mines which, in order to be exploited, should comply with the environmental legislation. How can we make use of the resources that we have in Italy while protecting the environment? The place where the mines are located are part of the National Park of Val d'Agri. We should create synergies. We can reconcile ecology, the environment, and mining activities. This is what we are trying to do through special agreements whereby we will use modern methods to minimize the impact on the environment. On the other hand, we will be able to use of the funds obtained with mining activities to stimulate local development with new actions to support the enterprises to enhance tourism, the environment, and the cultural heritage. This is not something utopian. This is possible. I'd like to invite my friends to visit the area and to learn about the methods which are proposed. This means that we have resources at the heart of the country which can be used to support its growth. Growth is a key word. We cannot grow without resources. This goes without saying. I mean, we can grow if we mobilize resources. Resources should be used to generate other resources. They should not only be in the hands of lobbies who get stronger and stronger. These strategic resources for the country should act as a multiplier to generate the dissemination of other resources, for example, in the south of Italy. With the friends of the Intergroup, will visit the energy cluster or district where the mines are to assess compatibility and to assess development models which can be an example for the country and the whole of Europe. Convergence is one of the objectives of our region. Europe can offer resources to implement convergence and cohesion policies. We might also find some financial tools with the support of European funds to leverage development so that we can attract foreign investors who are interested in our cultural heritage resources and the beautiful landscape. So these opportunities for development could be offered to the south of Italy. That's why we have the Intergroup on Subsidiarity to demonstrate that politics can be put at the service of the common good. Thank you.
Thank you, Cosimo. I'd like to ask Guglielmo Vaccaro, who's hurt his foot, I'd like him to conclude, and I'm very grateful to him because he only had permission from the doctors yesterday to be able to put his weight on his foot that he fractured in July. He spent all August in bed, but he has managed to reach us at the meeting. So I'd like to ask Guglielmo to take the floor. This is my first outing after my accident, and I'd like to ask all my friends and all of you for sitting here till the end. I'd just like to greet you all and say that whenever, as coordinator and together with Raffaello, whenever we're meeting at a public meeting or on our trips around Italy to visit the industrial districts of the real economy, I'm always very surprised to listen, as we have this evening, to listen to 4 members of parliament from 4 different political parties. Sanna, who's from the Democratic Party, Latronico, who's from Forza Italia, Latronico from the New Right, and other parties, and together they all serve within a parliament where, by definition, the divisions are decided by the electoral system. So to cite our great Pope, who is accompanying us in these difficult times, as he did in Korea, greeting the young people, I would like to say it's great for all of us to be here at the meeting today, to be able to talk about what we've started to do over the past year, hoping to be able to come back next year and summarize what we have planned to implement. It's great to be here, especially all different parties represented together, because I think that this is also what surprises the businessmen that we meet, because we insist that we want to come and see the industries, but when we turn up with representatives from 5 political parties, they realize that we are there for the good of the business and the local industry, and not to take advantage or to seek electoral consent and votes. Focusing on this journey around Italy for a moment, during the year we have 2 key periods. We have an autumn meeting, and then we had a meeting with Luigi Gigli, an important opportunity, and we talked about Europe with Maurizio Lupi and Enrico Letta, the 2 original coordinators of the Parliamentary Intergroup, who are currently on leave, as it were, and we are trying to do our best to bring the group forward. When we had this seminar on Europe in Subiaco last October, there will also be an important seminar focused on the voluntary sector, which this government has finally put on the political agenda, and I think this merits in-depth attention, and this is a seminar we will hold with the Under-Secretary of State and our friend Luigi Bobba and other members of the government. This, in May, this journey around Italy will continue and can be monitored on a website that we've set up called Italy Starts Up, www.italiariparte.com, with an itinerary that's already been scheduled. We will be in Lombardy Lombardy was the first 2 days in August. Then we will go back to carry on in Sardinia, which Francesco Sanna is organizing. Then we will continue in the regions of Basilicata and Liguria and lots of other regions in Italy until December, with an additional commitment during the 6-month Italian presidency of the European Union to serve, ultimately presenting a draft bill signed by all members of the Parliamentary Intergroup to meet the demands of people we have met all over Italy. Many things concern issues raised today, bureaucracy obviously, and many other issues. In some instances, we're able to solve the problems, as Raffaello said at the outlet, when we went to Naples, the issue of the port of Naples. Talking to Maurizio, we have inserted a regulation, a provision which will overcome one of the red tape problems in Naples. So a lot can be done if we link up directly with the real economy. So our group will continue in the next months. We have a great responsibility to continue in Parliament with our commitment, which surprised us, as I said, when Federica talked about her experience from outside the Intergroup. She realized that this commitment can be carried forward and can involve many others, even those who from the outside, who can monitor our activities. This meeting is drawing to a close, and it remains for me to thank all of you. There will be many things to continue to discuss in depth. In addition to the commitment of several members of our intergroup who have 5 children each, obviously their commitment translates directly into action. But on all this, if all the political forces are able to put pressure on the government to make sure that this country will not tragically age as it is at the moment, irreversibly, without any government to date having tackled the issue to turn around the ratio which is currently suffocating the country, and this lack of oxygen that we feel in the economy, and this deficit of young people we accumulate every month as the years go by. There is a lot to be done, and we are here for this, and I think that we can open a line of communication with all of you and with friends who are following at home, who will continue to give us suggestions. 300 members of Parliament in the Parliamentary Intergroup will be able to take advantage of all the suggestions put forward, and this is the appeal that we make. We appeal to you to support us and to continue to make suggestions so that this experience will continue. I promised to Maurizio, he's gone. I was going to ask him to appoint me to be able to solicit the minister, but I think that together with Raffaello tomorrow we will appoint Lupi and Letta, President and Secretary of the Parliamentary Intergroup for Subsidiarity, and confirm the other 300 that belong to the group. Thank you very much.